You know, I've been saying this over and over and over again. 59% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And so it's very difficult for people to stay at home even when they don't feel well, because it's the difference between feeding their families or not. And it's been 4 days since Nancy Pelosi and the House passed an $850 billion coronavirus relief package, making testing for the virus free, as you mentioned, and also dealing with some of the economic impacts of the virus. Where is this now in the Senate, and why haven't things moved faster?
I share your frustration.
Yeah.
I think this should have happened last week when they passed it in the House. Mitch McConnell chose to basically adjourn the Senate. We have come back, and we will be passing that bill today. Now, let's talk about the bill. It does help some people in the country greatly with paid sick leave, and that's really important. And it does some other good things with unemployment insurance and the like. But we know that many Americans don't even have the $400 to afford an emergency room bill right now. And so a lot of this is going to be, this is the first step. And there's so much more that needs to be done to have more extensive work-family leave, to make it easier for child care. That's another big problem for so many families. And one of my obsessions is these tests. We don't want to just find out you have it. Tests are being developed right now, including at Mayo Clinic in my home state, that would allow you to know if you had it before. And here's the key: do you have immunities? Because if you have immunities, you can go back to work. You can be a healthcare worker. And so I think all of those things, you could give blood plasma to save other people's lives. Those are the kinds of things that are about leadership and thinking ahead. And all of that has to be happening right now. And so much of this is a federal response, right? Getting the ventilators, finding the contractors to build the tents, doing all of this. It is not just local and state. Local and state are going to do a real good job deciding what's working in our state, what do we need to do. But the help must come from the federal, national level. This is a national crisis.
Well, Senator, speaking of your state, San Francisco's in some form of a lockdown now. There's talk of a possibility of something similar happening in New York. Based on your conversations with the experts, do you support some form of a lockdown in Minnesota?
Not at this point. Our governor and our local mayors have been making decisions for their own communities. It's never easy. The decision was made just recently to close the schools down for a set amount of time. Other localities are making different decisions. Again, I don't think that's a bad thing, because you've got to look at where the disease is and what the levels are at. What I do know is this: we don't have enough supplies for the testing right now. This is a national crisis. There's not going to be enough swabs after a certain period of time. And that's why, again, I emphasize we need to switch to other kinds of testing as well. And then I think we need to prepare, whether it is VA centers, whether it is maybe extended care places that have openings. We have to prepare to get the hospital beds we're going to need to help those who are most sick. One of the most moving photos I saw this morning was of a 90-year-old man in Connecticut who held up a sign to his wife of 67 years, wishing her their happy anniversary. There are people who have loved ones who are at serious risk. And our most important job in government is to protect people from harm. And so all of this should go in our thinking. We should treat this as a national emergency and work together as a team and not try to divide people. People are going to make judgment calls. Some they'll have to correct. Some will be right on, and we learn from each other.